to have you guys in here as well. I'm excited to see what you're going to say to us as we get through into Comms Team Live. So let's get into it, folks, shall we? The poll is closed. I will remind you of who the winner was later on. For now, let's think about why we're spending this time together this afternoon. So if we haven't met before, my name is Sam. I work at Smart School Councils. I'm here with my colleague Karen. I'll let her say hi in a second. And we have this 45 minutes of your time this afternoon, which we're thrilled to be able to have, to spend some time thinking about you as a communications team, what your role is in school, how you go about doing it, and how you make a difference to pupil voice in your schools. Ultimately making sure that when you do your jobs and the leadership sort of characteristics that you display, you are enabling everybody else in school to have their say, which is a phenomenal and amazing thing to do. So what we're going to cover is 4 different things or 4 different aspects of what it means to be in the comms team across this 45-minute period. We're going to spend a little bit of time looking at what it means to be on the communications team. We're going to spend some time thinking about class meetings and our role in supporting them to happen in school. We're going to help you to plan for a successful year for the rest of this school year. And then at the very end, we're going to be holding the first ever Comms Team Awards. This is where we are going to recognise some comms team members out there across the UK who've been doing amazing work in their schools so far this year in getting everybody involved and sharing their voice and being listened to in school. I can't wait for that bit particularly, but it does come at the end. So we're going to have to make sure we do and engage with the learning before that. But Karen, do you want to say a quick hi so you can introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about how we can get involved across Comms Team Live.
Very quick hi from me. Very excited about this Comms Team Live and looking forward to seeing how your amazing comms teams can be even more fantastic than they already are.
Thank you, Karen. That's great to hear. I'm really glad that Karen is here with me to give me a hand in running Comms Team Live this afternoon. Right, so what do we know about, what do we need to know, about participating this afternoon? So how do you get involved in Comms Team Live? Because as much as we'd love to be out there with you in your schools or in a big hall, whatever, we have to do things online for now. But we want to make sure that we're still listening to you. Now, the main way that you can get involved in Comms Team Live is to use the chat box, like lots of you have already. Stratton, CV Primary, for example, have just said hi to us and let them know they're here this afternoon. It's great to have you guys in here. You can be like Stratton and use the comment box to let us know that you're with us. What you can also do, if it's appropriate in your school, is to tweet us, because one of our team members, Becky, she's monitoring Twitter, if your school uses it, to see what's happening with you guys out there in your schools. So if you want to, you can share with us some pictures or thoughts or ideas from anything that's discussed this afternoon and use the hashtag CommsTeamLive, and then we will see it. Becky will bring it to our attention, we'll retweet you, we will be able to see what it looks like for you as a comms team in your school. Of course, that's dependent upon your teachers and whether that's appropriate or not. And just to be clear, it's Comms Team Live, that's a double M, and it's capital C, T, and L. If you want to, you can take some notes about the things you're going to learn as we go along the 45 minutes. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, it might be useful. And then what we've got there as well is at the end, we would like you to be ready to get involved in our activity as well. So we're going to be doing another poll. If we can get onto Menti to use it and to respond, that would be amazing. Okay, was that clear, Karen, do you think? Karen's happy with it, which must mean everybody else is happy. And I can just see that Peter and Paul's have joined us as well. So it's amazing to have you guys here this afternoon. Welcome. Okay, so one person that couldn't be here with us live, but wants to say hello to you all is Greg, our colleague. Greg is one of the 2 people that started Smart School Councils and helped to design the program that all of us work through and are excited about and try to make a difference in our school. But although Greg couldn't be here this afternoon, he is going to say hi to us because he recorded a video and he's got something he wants to say to us. So I'm going to just switch my screen for a second and you should be able to see Greg and listen to what he has to say as we start Comms Team Live.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, my name is Greg and I am one of the founders at Smart School Councils. I'm so excited today because this is the first ever meeting of communication teams across the UK and beyond. Over 60 schools have signed up, and I just think that being on the communication team is awesome. So you should be very proud of yourself, and I can see all the differences you're going to make in school. You're going to be also learning loads of skills. You're going to be helping young people's voices to be heard. And I just think it's one of the coolest jobs to do on a Smart School Council, and way cooler than my job. So I can't see you all, but I'm just picturing in your rooms together, all you brilliant young people thinking about how to improve or set up your comms team, with your helpful, brilliant teacher as well over there. And I'm just really glad that we're all working together. So I really hope that you enjoy today's event, and hope you have a lovely day. Take care. Bye from me.
Thanks, Greg. Well, it was good to hear from Greg. And I think what I'd like to build on what Greg has said there is just to tell us a little bit more about exactly how many of us are here this afternoon. So Greg said there are 60 schools that have signed up to become along to Comms Team Live. They are schools who are primaries, who are secondaries. They're from they're from cities like London, and they're from more rural places like Norwich and further beyond. It's an amazing spread of schools. We've got schools joining us who have recently joined Smart School Councils and maybe have only just set up their comms team, and you might be sitting there in your school thinking, it's amazing to be on this team, but I have no idea what it is. And if that is, that's okay, because you're going to learn more about it this afternoon. But we'll also have some schools with us this afternoon who have had comms teams before. Maybe comms teams for many years, maybe young people who remember being in the younger year groups in school and looking at the comms team and seeing what they're doing, and now are really excited to be on it for the first time themselves as well. So there's a real diversity of the types of schools who are here this afternoon, and how long they've been working with the Smart School Council, which I think is an amazing thing as well. And when Greg and I'll tell you a secret, when we used to do these sorts of events in school, we used to have a little competition between he and I to get opinions from students as to who's got the better beard, whether it's me or whether it's Greg. Now, unfortunately, he's not here right now, but you did just see a picture of him. So if you want to tell in the comment box who's got a better beard, please do that and say it's me, because it makes me happy. Right, anyway, so that's a bit quick message from Greg, and it's really great that we could listen to him as well. Oh, Greg's actually here, and he says it's him. I don't think you're allowed to do that, Greg. You're not allowed to vote for yourself. Oh, guys, look at this. Laura, they're all saying Sam. Oh, Heather Denny says it's me. Yes, come on. And Abigail, yes, come on, guys. Right, I'm going to get distracted now by trying to win this competition. But instead, what I should be doing is talking about being comms team. So, as I've just said, who said that? Karen's got a better. So Karen says that Greg's got a better beard. Andrew, right? Okay, I'm not going into this. I'm going to get distracted. But vote for Sam. Anyway, what I want to talk about is what it means to be on a communications team. It's really important, I think, if we are new to Smart School Councils, if we're new to our roles, or even if we consider where we are in the academic year. So we're in November, we're coming up to Christmas soon, but the year hasn't really been going on that long. It's really good to spend some time thinking about what it means to be on the communications team and how we can be successful in that role. Because, and I've said this to you already, and it's really important to remember it, your job as communications team members is to ensure that everyone else in school gets listened to, that everyone else in school gets their voice heard, that everyone else in school gets the opportunity to have their say on how your school works, or what you cover in your school curriculum, or what food there is on the menu in the canteen, or how you use your playground equipment outside. Whatever it might be, it is your job, and it's an incredibly important one, to make sure that everybody else is listened to. When we used to do events like this in school, we used to spend some time thinking about what it's like to not be listened to, what it feels like to be ignored. And I think that when we consider those questions, it really helps us to concentrate our minds on why it is so important and a privilege to be on the comms team. And I think what is even more important is to say that we as comms team members have been chosen because we've got skills, because we've got talents, because we've got opportunities maybe to show our leadership potential in our school. So it's an amazing thing, but what we are going to talk about is how we do it well, because that's how we can support you in your role. So if you've never seen this picture before, this picture shows you what all of the different parts of a Smart School Council is. The class meetings that everyone gets involved in across school. You've probably had a go at these yourselves when you've been in classes or in tutor groups, and that's great. The action teams that you may or may not have seen yet if you're new to the program, that are groups of young people who are creating change and trying new initiatives across school. But those parts of this program only really happen when you've got a really good comms team, when you've got a really good team of student leaders who are doing their job at helping the class meetings to run, encouraging other young people to get involved in action teams, and really being the champions for Smart School Council and for pupil voice in your school. And that's what it's all about. So Sam's inspirational speech aside, I can see that people are still voting for Greg, but I'm not talking to any of you who've done it. I'm going to plow on with what we want to talk about, which is what exactly is a comms team. So, like any team, a comms team is made up of different roles or different jobs or different parts, whatever you want to call it. And because I really like sport and my brain is a bit one track and I can't really visualize things unless it's done in the sporting way, what I've done here is show you a picture of a football team. You might not like football, that's fine, don't worry about it. But what you probably do know is that there are different positions that make up a football team, right? And you can see an example of them here. Centre forwards, strikers, whatever you want to call them, the ones who are often more likely to score goals, the midfielders, the defence, the goalkeeper. You know that, that these different roles make up a team that are going to be successful. If every one of those roles, if the goalkeeper is doing their job well at saving, if the striker is doing their job well at scoring goals, the team as a whole are going to benefit. I'm sure I'm labouring the point, but I know what you mean. And a bit like a football team, or a bit like any team in sport, the comms team is made up of different roles as well. And I'm going to share with you what those roles are. Now, as I said earlier, lots of you here might be new to the communications team. Some of you might have been doing your job for a while. Some of you may have been in part of it for a long time, and that's fantastic. Whatever the case may be, whatever role you may or may not have at the moment, it's good for us to think about this and spend some time reflecting on what these different jobs are on the comms team and how they're done well and who might be good at doing it in our role, in our communications team. So let's start then. One of the jobs that we know is really important, like all of the others on the communications team, is something called the class meeting tool leader. The class meeting tool leader does these things. Between the communication team meetings, they check how many classes or tutor groups have got involved in the class meetings across school. When you've sent out your class meetings, you're checking to see who has and who hasn't got involved, who you can encourage to get involved in. And the other thing they do in the meetings themselves is log into Smart School Council's website and check the results to see which is the winning option for our school and set up what the new meetings are going to be. I want you to tell us in the comments box, depending upon whether you're new to the comms team or whether you've been running for a while, who is or would be good at this in your team and why. This person, I think, needs to be quite techie because they might quite like to log in and be very internet savvy. They're probably really fast typers. And what else might they be? They're probably going to be young people who are better. What's the word I'm looking for? Better at taking action and getting on with things than maybe they are voicing their opinions in a meeting. But whatever it might be, have a little think. If you've already got a class meeting tool leader in your comms team, then send us a little comment to tell us who they are and why they're really good at their job. And if you haven't thought about who this is going to be for your team yet, now is the time to do it. Who might be really good at this in your comms team and why? Karen, let's come to you. Have we had any really good comments from our schools about who would make an excellent class meeting tool leader?
We have had a few. We've got Abigail has said that James and Caitlin do the job already for them. So obviously James and Caitlin are very tech proficient and comfortable with using the class meeting tool.
Amazing.
We've got Zaban who says Ali does it for them. And media leaders. I'd like to hear more about the media leaders. That sounds great to have media leaders at a school. Jenny says Florence. Love the name Florence. Florence because she's great on a computer. It's wonderful to hear. Claire says Joe and Annie would be good at that. So I guess that Claire hasn't quite got Joe and Annie yet, but she's got them in her sights. Gillian says Ben is ours because he's great at ICT. And Greg said that Islesworth Town have told him that Sloan and Christina do theirs. Irfan and James for Whitefield, both great at typing and tech. Another Henry is great as a tech man as well. And then we've finally got the Rosetta is saying their class leader is Tazkia because she's been checking that all classes have been taking the votes.
Oh, amazing. That's so nice to hear. I've just got one more I wanted to shout out to as well, because I thought it was a really good point that I wanted to make about the different roles on the comms team. From Parkhouse, we've got Josh, who said, I think I'm right in saying this, really doesn't like to write, but loves to type. And because he loves to type, he thinks he'd be a superb class meeting tool leader. And I couldn't agree more with that. One of the things I really like about the different jobs on the comms team is that there will be a role for everyone depending upon the things that they like. So like Josh, if you don't like to write so much, but you are really good at typing, this is going to be an amazing job for you. Please keep telling us more about the people in your comms team and how they're great. We're going to try and shout out to as many people as we can, and you'll have to give us patience because we are getting so many replies, which is amazing. And maybe we'll just stay here, shall we, till like 5 p.m. and then we'll respond to everyone. Nobody else has got anything important to do until 5, right? I definitely don't. But let's go on to the next role and then keep telling us more about the people in your comms team and what they do well. So the next job role, maybe you've got one of these already, maybe you need to have one. They are the progress board updater. Now, as a part of getting everybody involved in school, we encourage all of the schools who have a Smart School Council to get a progress board put up somewhere prominent in school. And the person or people who are the progress board updaters are the ones who take ownership and leadership over this board. And the board will tell you things like what class meeting results, what the most recent result has been, what the new action teams that are being set up across the school and who's leading them, what ideas young people have suggested for what action teams might be in the future, and also a way for you as a comms team to let all of your fellow students know about some of the ideas that maybe we couldn't take forward in school because they didn't quite work for whatever reason. So a really important job. And I know if I'm thinking about the progress board updaters I've met in the past, I know they're people who have got really neat handwriting if they're having to update the board, that they take pride in their presentation, that they are very resourceful, because they know how to keep and look after things like pens and boards and materials to keep the progress board looking really, really good. So again, like with the last one, who is or who would be good at this in your team? And tell us why. We would love to hear why you think some young people would be great at this in your team or who's doing a really good job at it at the moment. And I can see an absolute wave of replies coming through, which is amazing. So I'm going to cross to Karen again, who's our Comms Team Live sort of correspondent, to see what's being said.
Thank you for that, Sam. I do feel a little bit like a news correspondent linked to you here. So we've got some great ones. Lorraine says, board updaters are Brandon, Lucas, Philip and Ava because they're good at keeping people up to date, which is a really important thing for the progress board updaters. Jenny says Ava is her board updater because she's creative, but she can also keep things neat and tidy. We've also got Katya, who says Favour, Savannah and Zara would like this role. Because they are very creative and love doing displays. Well, perfect job for them if they love doing displays. And I'm sure they'll look forward to doing that.
Amazing. I want to give out a shout out to Sophie and Tia, who this is what their teacher said. They're doing a great job of getting our new progress board started, although we don't have many action teams yet as we're new to our Smart School Council, so there's not much on the board. Sophie, Tia, do not worry. There will be plenty on that board for you to update as you get going with your Smart School Council. But it's amazing to know that you are the guys who are taking that on. So big shout out to you guys. Brilliant. Right, there's going to be plenty more. We've got a few more roles to go, so let's see how we're getting on. Our next role, and now I don't like to show favoritism very often, but if I was in school, this is the role that I would like to do. Or young Sam, maybe am I still young? Who knows? Anyway, the role it's staff liaison. Now, if you don't know what the word liaison means, it's French. It literally means to go between two people. And the job on the communication team is to be the person that represents your comms team and the wider Smart School Council to the teachers and other staff in your school. The reason I would really like to do this role, if I had had a Smart School Council when I was in school, is because these are the young people who might be, in a very respectful and polite way, going around school and reminding some teachers who have forgotten to be doing their class meetings, and that they shouldn't forget because that's actually quite naughty and they should remember to do it every week. So I would have loved to have done that. So again, this is my question to you guys. Who is at the moment? Who would be good at this in your team and why? And before anyone responds with, oh yeah, I'd be great at telling off the teachers, you're not telling off the teachers, you're politely reminding them to do the class meetings when they forget. Karen, how's it sounding out there?
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments in so far. I'm just scrolling back through them because people are doing amazing at throwing them in, and I've just lost my ones there. Oh, there we go. Lorraine said her staff liaisons are Stephen and Jude, who apparently take great pleasure in organising her. So I think every teacher, I know when I was teaching you do need people like that, don't you, to keep you in line and to remind you of things. Catcher again says, Haley, Carter and Thomas would like to do this Whitefield. What could be better than reminding teachers to do the jobs properly? I think all teachers need a little nudge from their students every now and again. And we've got lastly here, oh, this is a good one. Anna Franklin says, Hassan and Tristan are very confident and enjoy conversations with staff.
Amazing. That sounds like they would be perfect staff liaisons moving forward. I'm going to have to put one in here as well because I can't help myself. Rohini, Sophie and Hester apparently are going to be amazing staff liaisons, working really well together. They're organising the information that's going to be passed on to the teachers and to the headmaster, which is what that role is all about. Amazing. Well done, guys. I'm really, really taking a lot out of hearing about who's doing all of these roles, because I think it's fair for us to say, isn't it, Karen? Lots of the time that we spent making sure that Smart School Councils works is in coming up with ideas and creating resources. We don't necessarily get to see who the young people are who are doing these amazing things. That's so nice to hear. Right, let's keep going. Question finder. That's the next role. Can't tell you how important this job is on the comms team. The question finder are the young person or people whose job it is to come up with really good questions that will be turned into class meetings that everyone else in school is going to get involved in answering. They are going to be inquisitive people who are curious, who like to find out information about the world. Maybe they've got quite an analytical brain or quite a scientific approach, whatever it might be. Their job is to find and mine all these brilliant different ideas for questions that everyone else is going to get involved in. We're going to be encouraging young people to vote on the questions to inspire them to make change in school. So it's an incredibly important job. So who would be really great at this in your team, and tell us why? I think I've described the sorts of characteristics. I won't go into them any further, but I'll go straight to you, Karen, to see who out there is going to be a great question finder, or who already is a great question finder.
Thanks for that, Sam. We have got here, crikey, they do come in fast. It's awesome to see. We've got Katja who's saying Madison and Alex would be great at this. They already have some great ideas for questions, so they're obviously ahead of the game. And Zayban says Imran is our question finder because he's very imaginative, curious as well, which is great to see. And we've got one here that's just popped up. Million Page are very good at hunting down questions. I like the idea of hunting down questions to find out what needs to be asked in your school.
Amazing. One shout out, quick one from me. Finn and David, you guys sound amazing. Apparently you come up with some really useful questions inspired by ideas from other students and teachers in school. The question results are often, I need to find out where the rest of that information's gone. It's disappeared. Anyway, Finn and David, you guys are amazing. You rock. Well done. I'm so glad to hear that you are fantastic question finders in your school. And apparently Ardley Green, I think is being given information via Greg, which is amazing. I'm not sure how you're doing that. Apparently Liam is going to be really good at this because he's always researching the things we do in class. So Liam, massive shout out to you. I think you're going to make an amazing question finder. Okay, we've got one last job on the comms team. And I know I've said all of them are important, but this one's important too. And this is what we call an action team developer. Now, I know lots of the schools out there have already told us that you haven't had action teams yet. And if that's the case, that's absolutely fine. But what you should have is an action team developer, because these are young people whose job it is to inspire others in school to become and get involved in and to set up action teams. They will look at the results that come through every time a class meeting is held across your school, and they'll be looking for those ideas that get suggested at the end, and they'll be looking at which young people in school suggested those ideas and seeking them out, finding them, seeing them at playtime, at lunchtime, wherever it might be, to suggest to them, hey guys, your idea was really cool. Do you want to set up an action team and see if we can make a change in the school, to see if we can get your idea off the ground? They are so important. They are busy people who like being active, who are very good communicators, who are confident in going out and finding and speaking to people, maybe people they haven't spoken to before. But that's their role, action team developers. So who's already a really good action team developer? Let's give them a shout out. And who, if you haven't got one yet, and especially if you haven't started your action teams yet, you definitely need an action team developer who would be good at this in your team and why. So Karen, let's go to you again for some shout outs to find out who's good at this or who would be good at this.
Absolutely. So we've got a few schools that are just starting to set up their action teams and some who are planning after Christmas, which is great to hear. But we have Norwich Primary Academy, Alice, really good at getting people to start up action teams, which is great to hear. Milo is a great action team developer because he's good at helping younger children and also great at communicating, which is wonderful. And we've got one more down here. We've got Jasleen and Hind will be brilliant. They are active and independent learners. Good to hear.
Nice. And then apparently, it's gone. I was going to read one out, but it was gone. But I'll find another one instead. That's okay. Olivia and Imogen are two amazing action team developers out there. They're very organized. They're super enthusiastic. Even though we don't have any action teams yet, they're going to be the ones who are going to get this off the ground, I'm sure. So big shout out to you guys as well. One last shout out, Millie, Tiff, Lily, Jess, Evie, Kiara. You guys sound like a great team. Apparently, you'd love to be action team developers. I can't wait to see that. It sounds like you would be as well. Okay, great. If you've got anybody else you want to highlight across Comms Team Life, then please keep sending in those messages. I think I've switched from a political reporter now to being a bit like Children in Need. That's my new vibe. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to switch our thinking a little bit. No, we're not. We're going to have a look at some comms teams in action first. I don't know about you guys, but when I think about what it means to be on a good comms team, I can think of the roles. I can think of who's going to be good at doing those roles. But sometimes it's really good just to see what really good comms teams look like and to take some inspiration from the pictures that we see. So here we've got 3 members of a comms team who have their own badges that remind them and remind other people across school of what their role is on the comms team. So whether they're the progress board updater or the action team developer, the class meeting tool leader, they've got their lanyards that tell them. And what's really good about that is that gives them access in their school to things they might need, like the computer suite or to go and speak to the head teacher or whoever it might be because of their responsibility. So maybe you could have one of those in your comms team. Here's a comms team that are signing into the Smart School Council's website to have a look at maybe the results of their most recent class meeting. Maybe they're setting up a new class meeting that's going to be sent across to the entire school for everybody to get involved in. They look to me very dedicated, very committed, and look like they know exactly what they're doing, which is amazing. Comms teams in action. Here we've got another comms team here who've I think this was taken after a comms team meeting to share exactly how they felt about what had been going on. So brilliant, amazing to see. So I've got some tips for you before we move on. If you are going to be successful, and I'm sure you are on your comms team, then these are the things you need to do. You need to know what your job role is. You need to know what resources or access you need to do your role well. And then thirdly, you need to know who's going to help you. Is it that somebody else on the communications team has a part of their job that links to yours? If so, go and find them. Or is it about knowing that you've got your teacher there to help you if you're not quite sure about it? But either way, these are the tips you need. Know your role, know what you need to do your role, and know who's going to help you. Okay, right, we've got time for another poll now. If you haven't used it yet, we're going to be using menti.com again to think about something slightly different. Not about the roles of the class meeting anymore, but instead what we're going to do is think about our class meetings and how the language that we use in class meetings can help our school and help the young people in our school to commit to action, to trying to change the school for better. So one of the most important parts of your role as comms team members is to make sure the rest of the school get involved in your class meetings. You know that. Class meetings are the most effective when the questions are really, really good. And that's what this activity is all about. The question we're thinking is, what makes a really great class meeting question? So here's our instructions. In the next screen, you're going to see an example of different question ideas. There are going to be 4 of them. And the questions are all about reducing your school's carbon footprint, which is an issue that we know matters to lots of us out there. You're going to have 4 different options, and you've got about 3 or 4 minutes. I say here 5, but I think we can do it in a quicker amount of time to decide which you think is the best option and why. So teachers, if you haven't done this yet, on a separate device, on a tablet or a phone, in your browser or in a separate browser, go to menti.com, use the code 6595 5979 to find the poll. And then you have 100 points, like we did with the last one. Please put your points against and rank the different questions as to which one you think is the best. So I'm going to switch my screen now so you can see the results of the poll as they come through. The code is on the top right-hand side if you still need it. And I think we'll give you another 3 minutes or so to have that discussion with your young people. To give my voice a little bit of a break, Karen, do you mind reading out what the 4 different options are?
I will. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
So the question obviously is which question would work best? And we've got how would we reduce our carbon footprint as a school? We've got which of these options should we do to reduce our carbon footprint as a school? We've got is reducing our carbon footprint as a school a good idea? And lastly, which of these options will you do to reduce our carbon footprint as a school?
Thanks, Karen. That's really great to see. So, which question works best in a class meeting? At the moment, we've got how should we reduce our carbon footprint as a school as the leader with 36%. 24% we've got is reducing our carbon footprint as a school a good idea. 20% are saying which of these options would you do to reduce our carbon footprint as a school, and 17 which of these options would you do to reduce our carbon footprint as a school. I think what I'd like you to think about is which of these questions promotes action, which of these questions is inspiring young people to think about their responsibility and what we're asking them to do, and which of these questions maybe is open, which of them are closed. And if some of them are open and if some of them are closed questions, what does that mean for our ability to then go and discuss our opinions on it and to have those really interesting debates. So think about all of those sorts of things. I think I'll give you 1 more minute or so to consider your votes for what makes a really great class meeting. Whilst we're waiting that last minute, Karen, what would you vote for and why?
I think I would be thinking about whether the answer is going to give us a yes or no answer, or whether it's going to give us a little bit more thought. So I'll leave it at that rather than tell them what I would choose.
I think that's fair enough. Karen wants to be impartial, like you would be if you were doing the election night coverage. Which is absolutely fair enough. I can see there's a bit of change going on in the votes, and I'm sure you can see them as well. We've still got how should we reduce our carbon footprint as a school as the number one choice, but there's been some movement underneath between questions that are asking about options and questions that ask a more broader point about whether it's a good idea or not. So in 10, 15 seconds, we're going to close the poll. We'll talk about the result. Thank you for letting us know you voted. If you've done that on in the chat box, that's amazing to hear. But that's it. The votes are closed. We'll take no more. Oh, we just had some final ones in. So we have one with 41%, sorry, which is how should we reduce our carbon footprint as a school, which I think is a really good question. I think the purpose of us in thinking about this was to consider in this question, which you can again see here, and I'll remind you of the results in a second, what the composite parts of a really good question are. So I think my opinion is this. I would encourage you, when you're thinking of what really good questions look like, is to not ask closed questions. The example of that in the one we've given you here is reducing our carbon footprint as a school a good idea? Like, it's a good question. We do want to know whether people think it's a good idea or not. But the problem with that is what's the answer? It's either going to be yes or no. That doesn't really give us much to talk about. It doesn't really give us much to go on to inspire young people to make a change. So would it be better to say, how should we reduce our carbon footprint as a school, rather than is it a good idea? Because if we're phrasing it in the way in which we're saying to young people, well, what are you going to do? Then we're much more likely to be successful in getting everyone involved in creating that change. And I can see that's probably why with 41% of the votes, that option is the one that's won. The second option was which of these options, sorry, the second place question was which of these options will you do to reduce our carbon footprint as a school? So not only is it giving a number of different options that you can choose from, but it's also asking young people, what are you going to do? And it gives us that impetus for change. So amazing. I really agree with the winning two choices from these. And thank you so much for getting involved in the Menti. That was a really good exercise. So what do you want to take away from this? We want to take away how we can think about questions that are open and not closed, and how we can write questions, especially if you're the question finders out there, that inspire change and action in the young people in our school. Okay, great. Right, there's two more things we're going to do. And we're getting very close to the time in which Comms Team Live very sadly comes to an end. And I am sad about that. But what I want to do really quickly is give a few more shout outs to some amazing schools out there who are at different points in their journey in Smart School Councils, but need, I think, to be celebrated. On the left-hand side, we've got schools who are our highest ranked, if you want to call it that, on the class meeting leaderboard. These are the schools that have done the most class meetings so far this year, giving the most opportunity for their young people to get involved in change and having their say. They're Lime Academy Larkswood with 14 class meetings so far this year, which is incredible. I have never known a school to have done 14 class meetings by what's the date today? 25th of November. Amazing. St. James Church of England Primary School, who have done 11 class meetings so far this year. Amazing. Well done. That is also incredibly impressive. And I know you guys are out there, so I hope you're giving yourselves a big cheer when you can hear your school name coming up. And then Kells Lane Primary School with 10 class meetings, which is, again, incredibly impressive. Getting in 10 different opportunities for everyone to have their say across school is a real commitment to pupil voice. So a huge well done to all of those schools who've been so successful so far this year. But equally I think, deserving of some massive shout outs are to those schools who've recently done their very first class meeting, because they're at the start of their Smart School Council's journey. And the start is always the trickiest part, but getting that first class meeting out there and getting everybody involved in answering them is a huge step into making that difference in your school. So you ready for these shout outs, Karen? Because I know you were particularly keen to give these guys a big shout out. We've got Ravensbury Community School, who've recently done their first. Amazing. Hope you're giving yourselves a big cheer. Claycott School, I know you guys here this afternoon. Big shout out to you guys. You've recently done your first class meeting, which is absolutely brilliant. And then thirdly, we've got Our Lady of Good Aid Cathedral Primary School, who've also done their very first class meeting recently, which, yeah, I'm sure that lots of the schools who are with us this afternoon who know how hard you have to work to get to that point want to join in with a big shout out as well. And I always get the name of this school wrong. I pronounce it incorrectly, so I will say I am so sorry in advance of getting it wrong. But is it D'Overbrook or D'Overbrooks? I'm sorry, guys. I always get your school name wrong. Apparently, you guys have done 11 as well. So maybe that's a new thing. Maybe my data let me down. Who knows? But big shout out to you guys as well. That's really good. And I think one of our schools have just given themselves a big round of applause and a big cheer, which is amazing. If you recorded that, you want to send it to us, I'd love to see it. That would make me very, very happy indeed. Right, okay. Teachers, we've got 4 minutes left. And because we're a bit pushed for time, I just want to highlight something to you. Tomorrow, I'm going to send you out an email that will have a recording of Comms Team Live for you to watch back if you think it would be useful. It will also include this resource. It's a report card. It's something to share with your communications team to help you structure the rest of the academic year. It's going to be your way of reflecting on what you're doing well at the moment and what you'd like to be better at across the course of the academic year. I would encourage you to fill out your report card when you're done with the meeting. So if you've got time tomorrow or time before Christmas, definitely do it soon, because it's going to be the way in which you build on your practice up until the end of the year, where you can do your report card again and see what's changed. It's going to ask you questions like, what percentage of your classes get involved in class meetings every week? Is that a good number? Is it not enough? Do we need to work on it? It's going to ask you questions like how many different young people get involved in leading class meetings across school. It also asks you to think about the actions you've set up and the number of ideas that have been suggested. So keep an eye out for that email tomorrow. It'll be sent out to you. Complete your report card with your comms team over the course of the next couple of weeks, and it will help you plan for a really successful year across the rest of the academic year. The reason we're not spending any more time on this is because I want to instead finish with a special shout out to the winners of this year's Communication Team Awards, who the next 3 young people that we're going to give a big shout out to are going to receive a book voucher from Smart School Councils for being amazing comms team leaders, winners, whatever you want to call them, because they've been highlighted by their teachers as doing amazing work in school. I'm going to come back in at the end, Karen, with a quick plea to some of the teachers of these young people. But Karen, why don't you share with us who are the winners of Comms Team Award of the year, whatever you want to call it.
I will do, Sam. If you wanted to send your congratulations to these winners in the chat box, feel free. If you are the people and you want to give yourself a virtual cheer in the chat box, feel free as well. So let's have a look. So this person was nominated by their teacher, and their teacher said she nominated this person because, considering she was new to school this year, she has been fantastically dedicated and worked well with her partner to plan some really good events. And that person was Anna, events organizer. We're not sure what school Anna's from, but I know Sam's going to explain that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Next one. She coordinates, as another nomination. So this teacher said she coordinates the team of 21 children. Crikey, that's a big bunch. Despite being quite a shy girl, and is jointly responsible for herding all the younger children to our weekly comms team meeting. Perhaps you know who you are already. And if you don't, this is who it is. Eden!
Yes,
Well
come on.
Eden.
Yes.
And lastly, another girl. She has worked so hard to engage all pupils and get them on board. I'm sure that could be plenty of people out there, but the person who was nominated is Samantha. Well done, Samantha.
Also, great name, Samantha. Really big fan of that. Can't tell you how much a fan I am of that new name. So, Eden, Anna, and Samantha are the winner of this year's Comms Team Awards for being incredible. Guys, we want to give you a book voucher. I made a mistake in the form that your teachers nominated you by not asking you what school you're from. So, guys, if you're out there, can you pop in the chat box what school you're from? And so that we can send you your book voucher for being an amazing comms team winner of in the awards this year. So teachers, I'm looking at you again. If you could help us by identifying which school you're from, we will then catch up with you tomorrow to let you know how you can access your prize. So that's Anna, the events organizer, Eden, and Samantha. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll take it forward from there. Brilliant. I think we've got Samantha from Parkhouse, brilliant. Anna de Overbrook, I get your name wrong. I'm so sorry. But Anna, it's great to know that you're from de Overbrooks or Brooks. And we're just waiting then for Eden to find out where you're from, and we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. So what have we got left to say? This is what we've got left to say. Thank you. I know we've run over by a minute. It's so hard to try and make sure we stick to time. There's a lot of us things we could have carried on talking to. We could have done this endlessly. For me, it was a lot of fun. But thank you very much for coming along. Teachers, a couple of things to put on your radar before we go. We'll email you the resources I've talked about and a link to the recording tomorrow so you can access that and use it again with your comms team. We're also going to send you a feedback form. Please complete the feedback form. Do it with your comms team. We want to hear more about what you thought of the event and how we can improve it for the future. And then if you could, we would love to see, and I can't express this enough, your report cards. Fill them out, send copies of them to us, take a picture, tweet them to us on Twitter, wherever it might be. When you've done them, let us know, because we want to see what you're going to be working on as comms teams over the course of the next weeks and months to make that difference in your school. So I know that's a big ask of you, but we'd love for you to do all three of those things. And thank you for coming along. It's been an amazing event. I've loved it. It's cheered me up endlessly. So thank you so much for coming along. Karen, do you want to say goodbye?
Well, this is my first comms team live event, and I am very hopeful that there's more because you guys have been awesome. Lots of chat going on in the chat box, and I think there's a fantastic bunch of students out there. So I think those schools are very, very lucky to have those students, and I'm very looking forward to seeing what the comms team do in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I've read the messages, folks, where you say that you'd love more of these sessions. If that's the case, then let us know in the feedback form as well. I'm sure it's something that we're looking to do maybe once every half term, I think is what we've thought about. A bit like the training we do with teachers to give your comms teams access to, a bit of fun, bit of engagement and some learning as well. So without over-promising, hopefully we'll be doing that soon. So thanks, guys. I'm sorry we overran by a couple of minutes. Hopefully it was still worth it. And thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of your term and have a great Christmas when you get there.